Okay, excellent. Well, good morning, everyone. I am calling to order the Water Policy Committee for November 19th, 2025. I'm Alison Coombs. I am the chair. We also have Vice Chair, Councilmember Bergan, and other member, Councilmember Medina, with us. And we will go ahead and get moving through our agenda. First is the approval of the minutes. Any changes, Councilmember Bergan or Councilmember Medina?
No, I'm good.
I'm good as well. Thank you.
Okay, so those will be approved as presented. Any questions on the consent items?
None for me.
None for me as well.
All right, then we'll keep moving through those.
I know.
So we'll go to item number 3, third amendment to an intergovernmental agreement to drainage and flood control improvements for Sampson and Robinson Gulch Regional Pond, country along.
Good morning, council members. I also have item 4
Okay.
as well, so I'll have them kind of back to back, which is the item 4 is the Murphy Creek Compton property purchase at Piccadilly Road in IGA with Mile High Flood District.
Okay, awesome.
I'll share. I'm going to see how this, I'm going to presentation mode and then share. Oh, I knew it would do that. Let's see. Play. I'll share that screen. There we go. See the presentation okay on the monitors?
Yep.
Great. So for item 3, look at there we go. The Sampson Gulch, Robinson Gulch detention pond. The project area is located, what's shown in yellow here. It's where the confluence of Sampson Gulch and Robinson Gulch meet. Arapahoe Road to the north, E470 is to our west. So the purpose of the project, we have a pond, detention pond that was built here about 24 years ago without really consideration for safe, accessible maintenance access. So it has become overgrown and silted in with time, causing a reduction in our detention capacity. So the purpose of this project is going to be removing the sediment from the pond and then doing some reconstructing the outlet to have it safer for operations to be able to maintain the asset. So for contributions, Aurora is contributing $150,000 with this IGA. Mile High is matching with $350,000 to fund the capital work. Mile High's portion is larger than Aurora's because they're meeting. We over contributed or contributed additional because we had monies available to the project, and then they had monies available now, so they're kind of just meeting up to what our funds were. There was also with that, there's interest remaining in the maintenance fund previously that was transferred to this project. So if you looked at the IGA language, there was something in there called special fund transfer. That's where that kind of odd amount came from. It was just the interest that had been remaining in the fund. And with this amendment, we'll fully fund the proposed construction project. So for that, does water policy support moving this item forward to City Council? Or if you have any questions.
Any questions, Councilmember Medina?
None at this time. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Bergan.
Just so it was previously funded. So this, what is the additional amount for?
So we've been kind of phase funding it, adding funds as they become available, as opposed to kind of over funding at the beginning and then the funds just kind of sit there until construction was ready. So we had funds available and we did an IGA. I think the second amendment was the one that put monies towards the construction side. And then with this amendment is just the last remaining amount needed to fully fund the construction.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Any objections to moving this forward?
Nope.
All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and move this item forward, and then we'll hand it back over to you, Andrea, for item 4.
Great. So the Compton property purchase at Murphy Creek in Piccadilly. So the where Murphy Creek, this exhibit shows north-south is Piccadilly Road. The Murphy Creek is the southern stream crossing of the road. Coal Creek is the northern crossing of the road. We had flooding in the area causing property damage, and we hired a consultant to do some analysis and kind of determine, what we can do to help minimize impacts to private property. Through that analysis, we found there's some culverts that we can install on the ground, but then the Mile High Flood District has a program where they have funds available to purchase properties in the floodway. So we found the purpose of this project is, removing the potential flood risk to private property. And by purchasing the land, it would reduce the need to spend capital monies on a temporary culvert upgrade at Piccadilly, because Piccadilly will be expanded in the future by Public Works. And our stakeholders in this property or in this project is Aurora, the Mile High Flood District, and then the property owners, the Compton Welding. With the Mile High program, they are contributing $800,000 to this project. Aurora would be contributing $80,000 to purchase said property. So Mile High's program is funds are 91% of the cost for purchasing of the property. And I'll open up for questions, and then ultimately, does the water policy support moving this item forward to study session?
Okay. I do have a question. So purchasing the property, understood, but what about everything that's on the property, right? So it sounds like the concern is that this is an ongoing flood risk that's going to lead to damage to the property. So presumably buildings and other things on site. Any equipment, presumably they would remove, but in terms of the buildings, do those get taken down as part of that process, or how do we address the risk?
Yeah, that's a great question. So part of the funding requirements of Mile High with using their funds to purchase the land, you will be restoring the said property back to more natural aesthetics, kind of back to the floodway. So with one of the things that Real Properties has negotiated with the landowner is they do have equipment and this material that they want to have removed from the site. And so all the equipment and things, but like the structures would still remain. And so that would be a separate capital project. We're working with Mile High and the engineer to come up with a kind of conceptual design of what might work for that parcel. Surrounding that area, there's, I go back to the image. So this doesn't show city boundaries very on here, but there's a conservation easement that surrounds this property that the property was purchased by the Parks Department, and so with that purchase, the conservation easement came. So we're looking at ways of we can restore this site to kind of natural floodways, so that we don't have that risk. So we don't have that definitive picture yet. That is still being worked through with the engineers.
Okay, and who will be responsible for the capital costs of the project to take down the buildings and restore the land to the floodway kind of
So
type
that
of landscape?
yeah, so that would be Aurora. We've preliminary talk with Mile High if there's any cost sharing that could come with that, but we haven't, because we don't know the definitive scope of what we're going to be doing. We've not gotten to further discussion. So for now, it'll be Aurora.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful. Any questions, Councilmember Bergan?
Yeah, I do. So it looks like we're saving by not building the temporary culvert, but on the other hand, it sounds like I just heard, I don't know if it's gonna be mile high rust, that we still have to do a lot of restoration for the floodplain. So I guess my question is, had we not purchased this parcel, would that property owner be responsible for any mitigation?
If we don't purchase the property, so there's the risk, if not purchasing it, the land is subject to additional flooding. The storms that happened, this is in 25, I want to say it was in the 23 at the May, June storms that we had was highlighted the continual risk that we were having with the road overtopping and flooding along this reach, because the banks of Murphy Creek, it breaches the banks and then it flows northern and kind of crosses the roadway up here. So we had damage along this southern portion and then damage up here in this property. So I think there's the risk to the city. I guess the property owner would have assumed flood insurance of some sort, but there'd be potentially shared risk to some degree.
But that property, so if he has no obligation in the floodplain, like he built in a floodplain and there's no obligation from him to mitigate?
Yeah,
Like-
what I would expect happened is that that property was constructed before the floodplain was established. I would still expect that they are required to and have flood insurance based on
Oh.
them being in an existing
Right.
floodplain. So likely what would happen is that if that gets damaged in the current flood, or in the previous flood continues to, their obligation would be to fix their property, and they would likely use insurance monies to try
Right,
to
so
help
now-
with that.
But now we're paying to own the land and then we still are going to be doing all the mitigation.
Yeah, so ultimately, what I think the concept, and you're right, the concept is ultimately there's going to be a roadway widening along this corridor, and we're going to have to build bigger, more robust culverts in that section as a part of that roadway improvement. And what they were looking to do is a temporary improvement to do culverts to try to protect that property. And it ended up being more cost effective for us to purchase the property than to install those culverts.
Okay.
And the culverts not only, and the property ownership, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrea, but is the access for the roadway also an issue for the overtopping of that? I mean, but that would be a long-term solution anyway.
But
So-
since they're not building the
But you're
culvert,
right,
is it just going to be like grading to divert water?
yeah, I would imagine, and Andrew, you may know more about this, but because of that open space, I would imagine that they're going to try to get it back to open space. I would also be quite surprised if this is the Mile High Flood District program and there wouldn't be some obligation to ultimately help us figure out what those buildings are for. My question would be, and I haven't been involved in this project in depth, so Andrew, you may know, but if the open space area, if there is a use for those buildings and there's a way to still utilize that property in a way that is helpful, but it reduces the risk, that's probably what's being evaluated right now, is what the long-term benefit and the options for the use of that property would be. That would be my just based on other projects, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, Andrea, but that would be what I would assume.
You're correct, Sarah. Yeah, so that's kind of what the whole evaluation taking place. So I mean, with the purchasing of the property, 91% of the purchase is coming from Mile High Flood District, with the remaining 9% coming from Aurora. So it was a cost benefit decision of like spending 700,000 to reduce the risk, but still there would still be the risk. It wouldn't eliminate the risk of flooding, because ultimately a larger box culvert structures need to be built. So the design team, when we were looking at our options, we found we could, if we spend 80,000 to effectively Aurora monies to purchase the property, we felt that we could do the restoration and what that looks like, kind of to Sarah's point of reutilizing the structures or kind of just turning it back to, natural way, would be more cost effective than installing the temporary culverts that would still have, we would still have road flooding even with temporary culverts.
Okay, and then with the road widening, would we also be in a position of potentially having to try to purchase that property anyway? Because it looks like it's right up on the existing road.
Yes, that is another factor of down when the road widening takes place, they would likely have to purchase land on either side of Piccadilly for the widening.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Anything else, Councilmember Bergan?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Councilmember Medina?
Nope, you guys asked the question I was gonna look at. Thanks.
I
Okay,
appreciate the questions and the interest.
We're paying attention.
I like it.
We'll take a
as
look
we
at
do.
the commentary to see if there's an ad for council.
Sorry, Sarah, what was that?
I just said we'll take a look at the commentary based on those questions and see if there's anything that might make sense for us to add before it moves into the study session packet.
Okay, thank you. And any objection to moving this forward?
No.
All right. Oh, seeing none, we will thank you, Andrea, and we will move on to number 5, Kings Crossing Village reimbursement agreement, Chong Wu.
Right, let me get my screen here. Okay, well, good morning. My name is Chong Wu, Deputy Director of Planning and Engineering for Aurora Water. So this is a proposal for a reimbursement agreement between the City of Aurora and Kings Crossing Village for a water line replacement. Kings Crossing is a multifamily affordable housing project located southeast of 6th Avenue in Jasper, highlighted here in blue, and Jasper is about 3 or 4 blocks east of Chambers Road. So as part of the development, the project was to connect into an existing 12-inch water main, which is highlighted in yellow here. During the excavation for this connection, that water main was found to be in fairly poor condition with severe corrosion and several breaks. So given this finding, Aurora Water staff determined that immediate repair or replacement of the section of pipe was warranted, to maintain, continuous service to the area. Due to timing constraints with, our purchasing, procurement, et cetera, we approached Kings Crossing general contractor to gauge their interest in performing this work. They were very interested and submitted a formal cost proposal to us. During our review of the proposal, the contractor actually went ahead and completed the work. And this was done without any written or approval from Aurora Water. The contractor fully acknowledges that they did this without our approval. But with that, we believe that it would be in the best interest of the utility to go ahead and make payment to the general contractor. And we believe that, or recommending that we do it through a reimbursement agreement. This work was conducted on behalf of Aurora Water. The utility directly benefited from this work. And the water line does serve not only the Kings Crossing development, but also the neighboring area, so provides a regional benefit. The proposed amount in the amount of $108,833.35 was negotiated based on supporting documentation of actual incurred costs. So we did compare this with recent projects that Aurora Water Capital did, and looking at relevant quantity comparisons, we believe that the amount is responsive and equitable. Approving this reimbursement agreement provides utility with benefits and future cost avoidance. For example, the contractor was already on site and mobilized. We're going to have some cost savings with pavement replacement, curb and gutter replacement. There's a permit required for CDOT working within the 6th Avenue right of way. The contractor already had that for another location. And this project ensures reliable water service, to the communities. Funding for this item is available in the 2025 capital budget through the water fund. And we are recommending that the committee support this moving forward to the December 15th council meeting. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Councilmember Medina, any questions?
Yeah, I guess just one. So was it this, they didn't have approval, you said, but did we inspect this through our department to make sure that everything was up to our standards?
Yes, a great question. It was inspected to our standards. It was tested through our contractor services and it passed all inspection and testing requirements.
And just a clarification, Councilmember Medina, the approval, we didn't have a signed contract for the reimbursement is the approval that Chong is talking about. They had approval to reconstruct that from an engineering perspective.
All right.
That's when you were talking about approval, it was specific to the reimbursement. Yeah. Yeah. So it's constructed per our requirements and inspections too. So.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Bergan, anything from you?
Oh, that clarified it for me as well. Thank you.
Yep, and I am good. So are we good to move this forward?
Yes.
All right. And so then we'll move on to number 6, which is Chong again, reimbursement agreement for Harmony Phase 4.
Yes, this is the recommendation for amended and restated reimbursement agreement with the Harmony Phase 4. So just as a refresh, Harmony Phase 4 is part of the overall Harmony Master Plan, and Harmony is generally located on the east side of Powhatan Road between First Avenue and Mississippi. This agreement will be between the City of Aurora and Melcor TC, which is the Harmony Phase 4 developer. This is for a 36-inch water line along Powhatan between Alameda and Exposition, as shown here in the exhibit. Previously, on May 15, 2024, Water Policy did support advancing this original reimbursement agreement to City Council. And on June 10th of 2024, City Council did approve the agreement in the amount of $1,668,331.90. Melcor is now requesting an amendment to the original agreement to increase the not to exceed amount to $2,200,858.45. The justification for this increase is attributed to material and construction cost increases. This is a trend that we've seen in the construction industry over the past several years. To ensure the credibility and responsiveness of this amount, we did look at we did review a thorough review process of the bids. So Melcor did receive 3 bids from qualified contractors for this work. 2 of the bids were within 5% of each other, and the high bid was kind of way out there, so we didn't really consider that bid. So the lowest bid was actually used for this analysis on this new cost. So the cost was compared and calculated based on the differential between the 16-inch required for the Harmony development and the 36-inch needed for the regional benefit. Cost includes engineering, construction, and a contingency. In a summary, based on the review of the bids, we believe that the low amount is appropriate and deemed responsive. So this item will be included in the 5-year capital budget and refunded through the water fund. And we are asking support to move this to the December 15th regular council meeting. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you so much for that. I mean, honestly, that increase is huge. But I know that that is something we've been seeing in a number of instances. And I know we have funds available to work on it, but I will say that that's it's concerning. I understand that this is still the appropriate approach is collaboration with the developers to build infrastructure we would otherwise end up building later, probably at an even higher cost. But that's a little bit of a shock. Are there any questions, Councilmember Bergan?
No, I guess the only thing, so when it was originally negotiated, was it just a delay in their ability to get it done? And that's why the cost then increased?
Yeah, that's right. According to the developer, they had, home builders in line, for this area. And for whatever reason, based on market conditions, those home builders backed out. And so that's delaying this project. Melcor, the developer, is now committed to actually installing that 36-inch line because that's going to help market that whole entire area for future home builders. So that's why they're pretty anxious to get this going.
Hard to time the market.
It is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Medina.
Nothing from me, thank you.
All right. Do we approve moving this forward to the full council? Any objection?
No.
All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and move that forward. Thank you, Sean. And
You.
now Marshall, we get to have our Skyrim community update.
Yeah, now the fun item, right? Okay, so after we met last time, we talked about evaluating the possibility of some alternative approaches compared to just drawing a hard line in the sand and saying no more extraterritorial agreements. Specifically, we talked about, do we create a buffer around our planning area boundary of like a half of a mile and possibly tell those people would be willing to provide essential indoor service only. So kind of have a little bit of a softer. So what we did a couple of things actually. One of the first things I did was followed up with Skyrim. I penciled out the costs. They, as you recall, had suggested they might need up to 10,000 gallons a month for their indoor use for the 77 homes. The connection fee associated with that, because keep in mind, code says 1.5 times rates and 1.5 times fees that had been communicated to them before. So I penciled out what we didn't know before when I had been communicating with them was exactly what they thought their demands were. They didn't share that until they came to the meeting. At 10,000 gallons per month, their connection fee would be about $5 million.
Ooh, wow.
And the other thing we didn't
Or
talk
seven-
about, yeah,
77.
77 homes.
Okay.
The other thing we didn't necessarily talk about previously was the other thing compounding these situations for us is that we don't have any ability to get return flows. There's no sewer collection system in these areas. And it would be extremely expensive for them to build a sewer collection system. So the way our connection fees are structured, we have a fee for a recoverable water use, and we have a fee for a non-recoverable water use. And 10,000 gallons a month is a lot of water. So I said, hey, that's about a $5 million connection fee. And then I gave him another alternative. I said, if you could get your use down or commit to only 5,000 gallons a month, your fee would be half of that. So 2.5 million is a lot more reasonable for 77 homes. The other advantage to getting their use down to 5,000 gallons a month is that is our tier 1, tier 2 break. So if they're at 10,000 gallons a month, their monthly usage charge would have been $10.95, about $11 per 1,000 gallons. So a pretty high rate. If they could have stayed under 5,000 gallons, the rate I offered up was $8.70 per 1,000 gallons. So I emailed him all those details. Now keep in mind, you met him. He was emailing me all the time about this, saying, help us, help us, help us. When I sent those costs back a month ago, I got crickets.
Oh.
And I did a follow-up email a day or two ago saying, hey, I haven't heard back. I'm assuming by not hearing back, you're not interested in moving forward at these costs. But these are the costs that any of these entities would be looking at. So it appears they've determined that the costs are prohibitive for them. The other thing then, so that's the follow-up.
Can I ask though, why are they using 10,000 gallons a month? Like, if you looked at 77 homes in your neighborhood, my neighborhood?
Yep.
What is normal?
For indoor use?
Yeah.
Typically between 2,000 and 6,000 gallons. Yeah, so they're quite a bit higher.
They have 20 children each?
They could have horses, they could have,
Oh,
yeah, so they probably
oh, they're
have
using
some
indoor water
Yeah.
for their
livestock, chicken, whatever else they've got going
I
on.
have a
So,
neighbor that was doing that.
well, and these are large lots out in the country, right? And so they have the ability to have livestock. They have the ability to have a lot going on other than just outdoor irrigation. So it's not unreasonable that they might be up to the
Yeah.
10,000. Now, he did say that they've got one property that uses like 20,000. Most of the others are slightly less than 10. But yeah, so when we talk indoor use for these types of properties, it's not necessarily just dishwashers and sinks and showers.
Okay.
So that's the first piece of information. The other thing we did, and this is gonna get to some interesting things now. We went and looked, how many properties would we potentially, if we establish this boundary half a mile outside of our proposed new planning area boundary, how many additional properties would we be talking about? So keep in mind, this was a lot of water. Where's my acre foot number? I think, so we would have had to have acquired, I think it was 11 acre feet. No, that's the rate. Okay, sorry. We would have had to have acquired 57 acre feet of water to meet that 10,000 acre foot demand because we get no return flow. And we
How
have
much
to
does that
acquire
cost?
more raw water than potable water ends up in the system. So it would have been a not small or insignificant amount of water we would have to acquire even to provide this level of service to 77 homes. The demand would have been 28, a little over 28 acre feet at the 10,000. And again, 5,000, you cut that in half. But the number of properties, potentially, if we establish that policy, that we could have to serve in the future, is about 30,000.
Oh.
Now, and we're talking 77 was a little bit of a burden.
Right.
So I will say one of the challenges though is some of these, the way our planning area boundary, and all, I have to connect to the meeting. I'll connect to the meeting and show the planning area boundary. A majority of those properties are actually in ECCV or Aqua's service area. So we may want to rethink our policy a little bit more. In fact, we may want to rethink the planning area boundary a little bit more. And I'll show you kind of what, join and mute and then share. I'll show.
I think she's ready to pop over there.
3 more weeks.
Okay, so here's our planning area boundary map, and let's see if I can get my cursor to show up. Can you see my? Yeah, I can see it a little bit on there. So this area down here, so see our planning area boundary in the southwest is kind of odd. we actually encapsulate Cherry Creek Reservoir, which is not in Aurora. We encapsulate Copperleaf, which is
that's not ours.
huge development. We encapsulate Eagle Crest High School. So
That's weird.
our planning area boundary goes outside of a lot of additional connections that are getting water from somewhere else. So a majority of those 30,000 are in this area down here in the southwest that is served by either Aqua. In fact, we might have captured Sarah's house down there.
And I would love to have service from Aurora.
Aqua or ECCV. So we've debated a little bit. Aqua and ECCV are a little bit more stable than like a Skyrim on wells. But Aqua and ECCV are both predominantly still groundwater. We've had a request from part of Copperleaf already for can we annex into the city primarily for the purpose of getting Aurora water instead of ECCV water. So
and then we'll have to do the roads.
Well, and then it begs the question for all the other services provided out there too.
Fire, police.
So after re-looking at everything, after Skyrim's lack of response, after seeing the costs, we're back to the recommendation that we think it's best to just say no extraterritorial agreements and have that be the policy. We will still have some areas in our planning area boundary, like Thunderbird Estates, for example. We've been in conversations with Thunderbird Estates for 3 or 4 years. They're trying to figure out whether they can create a funding mechanism to create the infrastructure to connect to our system. So no extraterritorial agreements outside of our planning area boundary may still result in some connections, but it would trim back. And when we did our water supply planning, we actually planned for the Thunderbird Estates of the world for their demands to hit our system. So we would still see some of those. The other thing that we're going to, after we're just now finishing up adjusting the planning area boundary pretty close to what's shown on this map, we are starting conversations about that area to the southeast. And why wouldn't we trim out ECCV, Copperleaf, Aqua?
I think we should.
Those areas out of our planning area boundary too. So we think we're probably going to be back in a few months, maybe with another planning area boundary adjustment, not based on future growth areas this second time as much as based on we were never planning to provide water to any of those already pre-developed areas that have other large water systems. So
why was that our boundary?
Well, I think, so I'll show you, can you see my cursor again? You see that little area to the west of Cherry Creek Reservoir where the cursor is?
That is in Aurora.
That is a flagpole annexation. So that is a Walmart and surrounding shops that Aurora annexed a long time ago for the revenues associated with sales tax, is my understanding. I think what happened with the planning area boundary, at some point we decided let's just draw the planning area boundary to capture that.
Oh, God.
So that it has some level of being contiguous with our other planning area boundary.
Not smart.
So that's what we're going to have to figure out is how do we just have that as its own little flagpole out there? It's the only, you see it's white. It's in the city of Aurora, technically. We don't provide water service there already because it's kind of too far away. We do provide sewer. So it's kind of a weird deal, but I think that's why the planning area boundary, you'll see also down here, Arapahoe Crossing, right, is similar. It's in Aurora, but it's surrounded by everything outside of Aurora.
Right.
So that will be the challenge if we look at adjusting the planning area boundary further down there, is how do we deal with that flagpole annexation and Arapahoe crossing? And there's, I think, one or two other spots that are
I mean,
oddly,
there's also the flagpole annexation of Quincy out to the whole Southlands area that is probably responsible for some of this Centennial stuff being in there.
would be,
I
yeah,
wonder if rather than adjusting the boundary, because it would just get real weird because of those flagpole annexations, if we just say, if you're served by another water provider, we're not having an extraterritorial agreement. Like if you are physically located in an area
Yeah.
that already is served by another water provider, then no.
Yeah, but the problem with that is if a provider somehow goes out of business, can't provide anymore, then they're gonna come to us.
and then they may not have a provider.
Right.
And they may be in our planning area boundary. No, those are great questions. We don't know for sure the answer. That's what we're starting now, the process to sort through is what makes the most sense.
You gotta ask Grok, AI.
Ask AI. Yeah.
No, do not ask AI, please. It's not a thing that requires that energy usage.
So we're initiating those discussions right now with planning, ODA, the attorney's office, and planning. We'll come back to water policy with recommendations. Again, kind of, we may have options even on what that looks like. But for now, wanted to give you kind of the whole picture of why we're now landing back on the recommendation that we would just draw a line and say no extraterritorial agreements outside of our planning area boundary. And then we'll be back with some additional refinement for some areas that are currently in our planning area boundary, either adjusting planning area boundary or providing some additional clarification in code or something. We don't know for sure what all of our options are there. But more to come.
I think it was an interesting exercise.
We actually learned a few things that we didn't anticipate. So yes, it was a good exercise.
And interesting for us as well, right? Because we had the person right in front of us being like, we're gonna not have water for our homes. You have to help us.
I know.
So
And it pulled at my heart.
It's hard for all of us, right? It's going to be a difficult future. I would not be surprised if 10 years from now, there are additional questions that people may want to revisit the issue, but I think establishing that policy now of no more extraterritorial agreements will give us some clarity moving forward for our planning. And then a decade from now,
Legal protection.
and legal protection. In the future, I don't know how far out, but in the future, I would be surprised if these discussions aren't out there again of, can you make an exception? Because we'll hear more and more from people like Skyrim as their water situation becomes worse. One of the advantages of us establishing what we're talking about in policy, though, is I think it'll get those places thinking about their challenges sooner. And maybe they'll be able to do things a little more proactively to avoid catastrophes in the future. So.
yeah, I mean, there is certainly the question of folks making sure that their uses are also conservation minded. And hopefully as we're more conservation minded, we will continue to not have some of the difficulties we've had in our conversations. But I do think that it is likely that just from a good neighbor standpoint, that if things become as dire as they seem likely to become, from a water resources perspective, that we're going to have some other conversations in the future. But for right now, I think you're right. Like, this is the right move right now. while people still have opportunities to make different choices. But I think in the future, there may be like, we have genuinely no other options, and we're gonna have those good neighbor conversations.
Yep, I agree.
Or maybe not we, because it may not be while any of us are still on council, but
Hey, we'll see who's still here.
all right, Councilmember Medina, anything you would like to add?
No.
All right. Well, thank you, Marshall, for that. And yeah, we'll look out for those future discussions.
Yeah, and
I
if
will
you're,
likely not be here, but please let me know when they're happening. I'd like to attend.
and so what we can expect with you all's blessing is we would be moving some code revisions, I think, forward to clarify service. Right now, code says council can approve extraterritorial agreements at 1.5 times rates and fees. So we'll have to revise code and bring those code changes forward. And they'll go through this process. They would not, those code changes would not go through PED.
Oh, they don't have to?
No, because it's about things outside of our planning area boundary.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's helpful. All right, any miscellaneous matters?
I don't think so.
All right.
No, we need snow. Talked about that earlier.
Need snow. They said this
We
week.
do need snow. That is real. You said they said this week, Françoise?
They said a little possibility on Friday or Thursday night.
Thursday night into Friday.
But then next week, they're freaking me out because they said Thanksgiving and I've got family coming from Colorado Springs, so I don't want it to snow on Thanksgiving.
And we
Well, you
don't,
go tell that snow to come on Monday instead, Françoise.
Yes,
we
exactly.
just need it in the mountains. We
Mountains.
don't
Right.
actually need it down
Yeah,
here. We
it
need a
needs
little bit.
Dump in the mountain.
Dump in the mountains, little bit of rain down here, a lot of snow up there would be ideal.
Perfect.
So,
Oh,
I think they still have Thanksgiving up there, just saying. All right. So are we meeting in December?
That's up to you guys. We don't have anything pertinent that needs to go in December.
You want a
Okay.
vacation from us?
It's not so much from you. It's just that the meeting date is awfully close to Christmas, I think.
It is.
Yes.
So we can go ahead and take that one off. Was it
Yes.
Christmas Eve? Literally is what we would be scheduled for. So we're definitely not.
Before
doing
that, it's the night,
Oh.
or the
17th?
17th.
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Still
Still,
not.
Which works better for us to, a bunch of us are supposed to be in Las Vegas talking about the Colorado River.
Oh,
Which is not, those conversations are not going well.
oh no. I was gonna say, well, cool, but maybe not that cool, but we should definitely give you the meeting date to take care of those conversations, and we'll be interested to hear how those proceed. I don't know if you want to say anything now or wait until the conversations have happened and we can hear more about it after the fact.
Yeah, I will be surprised if we're not in a court battle right now. That's how the conversations have begun, which is not well at all. I don't know if you all saw the Arizona state leadership, the governor, the head of their, I think maybe both, there's one or more of their senators, their governor, one or two of their House of Representatives people signed a very demanding letter that they sent to the Bureau saying, you need to make Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, and New Mexico cut back on their use of
oh, please.
Colorado water so that we can maintain, essentially so we can maintain our level of use of the Colorado River. Arizona's the lowest priority in the system. So they're the ones on track to get cut back the most and first.
Oh.
What they've done historically, though, is when they get cut back, they just turn their wells on. They have a lot of groundwater. They've used half of it, but they started with a whole lot of groundwater down there. And so they haven't really seriously implemented all the things they need to. You've got water systems down there who have extremely high water use businesses moving in. And the offices of economic development are incentivizing them in spite of the water utilities saying repeatedly, we don't have the water. So it's been fascinating. The letter said we need to be able to preserve how we're developing down here to keep our economic engine going. And you need to make the upper basin states cut back on their Colorado River water use.
Wow.
So anyway, big
Wild.
fight. Yeah. So
I mean,
think it's-
also famously massive golf courses in the desert, really a potential opportunity there.
Oh, and water resorts with massive pools and
Yep.
waterfalls.
Tons of, the highest water use I've seen in any system is Paradise Valley,
Yep.
Arizona.
Yep.
They use almost, or they were using, I haven't checked recently, they were using almost 500 gallons per capita per day.
Oh, my gosh.
We're
Wow.
using close to 100.
Dang.
So
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a no, but obviously we don't just get to say, okay, no, carry on. I wish you all the best in those conversations. Because that's gonna be, yeah, maybe not so much fun.
What about the Indian reservations? Are they under the same
they,
policy?
yeah, the Indian
Because
reservations.
they got the casino in Arizona, in Phoenix or Scottsdale, whatever.
Yeah, they have
Other
a
side.
lot of, yeah, they have
A
the
number of casinos.
River Pima Maricopa.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Indian, that's a big complication in the Colorado River negotiations because the tribes each have Colorado River
Right.
allocations.
Yeah.
Most of them have not used their allocations. They've historically taken the approach of we will lease it to others who need it. So they've got that, and that's another thing that's going to blow up, I believe, on Arizona, is the tribes are prohibited, they can't sell their water.
Oh.
But they can lease it. So what they've done are 100-year leases to municipalities. And municipalities are growing on these 100-year leases
And then
that were super cheap, by the way. They didn't recognize the value of water back when those were signed. They're like halfway into those leases now, 40 years-ish. When those leases expire, the Indian communities could either just say, we're not renewing the lease, or name their price.
Right.
They'd be able to charge whatever they wanted. But the allocations, even with those leases, they've not fully used their allocations. I'm not sure any of the tribes have fully used their allocations. So there's another pot of water on the Colorado River that's obligated that hasn't been drawn on. And the tribes are now stepping up and saying, hey, wait a second. We're not just going to concede never to use the water that we're supposed to have. So
But don't you lose if you're not using your water, you lose it?
that's Colorado water
Oh,
law.
Colorado, not.
Use it or lose it. It's kind of law in other parts of the West, but it doesn't apply to the tribal water rights of Colorado River water.
Oh.
They don't have that requirement.
Okay.
Right. Because they're
So-
sovereign nations, so they can't be bound under compacts. Well, they can't be bound under the state water law.
Yeah, so they can sign on to a compact and then abide by the terms of the compact under their own sovereign
Right.
authority. But yeah, so that's
Interesting.
another interesting challenge. And then Mexico has water owed to them per the agreements with Mexico. So there's some other complications that are even beyond the fight between the upper basin and lower
I
basin.
told you, you got to build a pipeline from the Midwest. Pump some of that water.
Or move all the high water uses out to the Midwest and keep the low water uses out here. Alex just weighed in with some details. Clarification on what I just said.
Do you want to say anything at all, Alex, about the conversations in Las Vegas?
Well, good morning. Marshall teed it up very well in terms of where the 7 basin states negotiations are. I was just commenting that the tribal water rights are water rights that were created when the reservations were created under federal law. When the federal government reserves land for any purpose, it can be Forest Service land, it can be tribal land. It is assumed that the water necessary to achieve that purpose is also reserved. And when the tribes there was a famous case, US Supreme Court case, the Winters case, where the US Supreme Court noted that the tribes had the right to that water that was necessary to achieve the purposes of their reservation. And the water right date associated with those water rights is the date that the reservation was created.
Yeah.
And so it has as Marshall noted, the use it or lose it is a function of Colorado water law, prior appropriation doctrine, and is not applicable to the federal laws that created the tribal rights to water.
Interesting.
Complicating.
Yeah.
Okay, well, can I just say thank you? I think this has been the last time we'll work with the committee as presently constituted. It's been great. It's been enjoyable to work with all of you. Hopefully we retain 1 or 2 of you next year. I'll just put that plug in.
Yes, and
Stay with us.
I
Yes.
will miss working with all of you. I always love the Water Policy Committee. It's very educational, very interesting. I've really appreciated the opportunity to serve as chair this year. I will likely not be serving on any committees because I believe I'm the only person who has submitted a letter of intent to be the mayor pro tem. So I will be the mayor pro tem, but thank you for the plug on keeping some folks on water policy. Marshall, I will make sure I don't leave you with 100% people who newly require a complete education on how water works.
Thank you. But we do look forward to getting others up to speed. So it'll be fun.
Absolutely. And I will attend the meetings from time to time. Let me know, as the extraterritorial conversations come up, as the long-term planning conversations come up. I'd still like to attend and be part of those conversations.
Perfect. Thank you. We will take you up on that.
Awesome. Does anybody else want to say anything as our last meeting for this year?
No, it's just enjoyable as always. Love being on this committee. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I've learned a lot. Maybe I'll be one of those people. Maybe Françoise as well. So continue on.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a wonderful day and wonderful week next week. And we'll see you soon.
All right.
Crazy.